natin bring in Caloocan Bishop Pablo Virgilio, Cardinal David. Cardinal, we're very honored to have you with us today for the first time. Welcome to StoryCon.
Good afternoon, Cardinal. Salamat
Hi,
sa
Cardinal.
pagpapaulak.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Nasa gitna tayo ngayon ng Semana Santa. Kamusta kayo?
Yes.
So, paparaphrase ko yung saying, he who has the most sin should cast the first stone. So, I'll let Ronald ask the first question.
Mali ata yung ano.
Pinaraphrase ko nga.
Pati yung paraphrasing mo, mali.
Cardinal, nasa gitna tayo ng mga unprecedented crisis. Di ba? Massive corruption, massive impunity, foreign invasion, no? At yung cynicism ng maraming tao. So, ano ba yung nakikita nyo, hindi lang dahil Semana Santa tayo ngayon, kundi ano ba yung nakikita nyong role ng simbahan at mga Kristiyano sa gitna ng lahat ng ito?
Salamat sa tanong, Ronald. Totoo, no? Sabay-sabay talaga yung mga crisis na kinakaharap natin ngayon. Pandaigdigan at saka lokal na mga krisis, political, economic, no? Pero sa tingin ko bilang isang pare, isang obispo, ang pinakamalalim na krisis hindi lang sa sistema, sa politika o ekonomiya, kundi yung moral crisis, no? That's why I keep talking about spiritual and moral crisis. Yung something's wrong about the way we perceive things, no? Yung crisis sa puso ng tao kapag parang indifferent na yung tao o cynical at pag nawawalan na ng malasakit, ganon, doon naman nagsisimula ang mga bagay katulad ng corruption, impunity, yung ganon, na siyang napapansin natin na punot dulo ng krisis na kinakaharap natin sa both on the global level and on the national level.
Cardinal, a few days ago, you were quoted by Vatican News as saying, as asking the question, who benefits from, for example, the war right now in the Middle East? And I think you ended it by saying that the benefits go to the industries that manufacture weapons. But I suppose in some ways it also you can also expand it a bit to other aspects and other people or other sectors who also benefit from this crisis, the crisis of war, the crisis of the economies, and as well the crisis of oil.
Yeah, alam mo yung usapin ng who really benefits, ano yan, ekonomiya yan, global economics. At hindi ko talaga linya yung global economics, pero kahit si Pope Francis noon pa man, matindi ang suspetsya niya na ang giyera ay negosyo din, no? At alam mo naman na kailangan nilang ibenta ang mga armas, mga sandata, mga ganyan. At isang paraan din yan para magbago yung mga prioridad ng mga gobyerno Kasi in a time of peace, usually mababa lang yung budget para sa national security o para sa mga military needs, ganon. And that's a good sign kapag ang top priority ng mga national budget ay may kinalaman sa edukasyon, sa kalusugan, sa kapakanan ng mga disadvantaged sectors, ganon, no? Pero ito, bumabalik na naman tayo dito sa yung ini-instigate talaga na kailangan magbago yung mga prioridad ng mga gobyerno. At I think itong global crisis na to babaguhin din ang mga national priorities natin. Ang laki-laki na nga ng problema natin sa ating national budget. Tapos lolobo na naman ang ating budget para sa depensa. Ganon, no? If only people knew na ang kapayapaan, ito lang talaga yung paraan para umunlad ang buong daigdig, hindi lang tayo, no? We can not expect any progress in civilization kung hindi natin yakapin the option for peace against violence, against war, no?
Cardinal, you're talking about a spiritual and moral crisis. I'm sure madalas niyong pag-usapan to, no? Dahil madalas mag-usap yung mga obispo di ba? Meron bang mga suggestion kung paano, kasi we are supposed to be the bastion of the Roman Catholic Faith in Asia, pero tinatanong ng mga tao, bakit ganito? Sobrang corruption dito, sobrang pagnanakaw. Ano ba yung mga suggestion na lumalabas pag nag-uusap kayo? Anong pwede kayang gawin on the part of the church?
Yes, yes. Totoo. At in a way, yun ang, in many ways, yung, we admit na merong failure din sa amin as church leaders. Kasi, baka nagkulang talaga kami sa sa faith formation, conscience formation, ganon. Baka nauwi lang ang pananampalataya sa pietism, religious practices, yung pagsisimba, ganon, na mahalaga din naman, no? Pero yung pagsasabuhay ng mga proper moral values at priorities conscience formation 'yan. And sa tingin ko, marami kaming pagkukulang pagdating sa ganyan. Kaya sa amin ngayon, napakahalaga na research-based ang aming mga responses.
Yes.
Hindi mo masasagot ang isang problema nang hindi mo muna inuunawang mabuti anong punot dulo, anong pinagmumulan ng problema. I remember there was a time na nauso sa mga evangelicals yung Christ is the answer. Tapos ang reaction what was the question? What was the question? Now, parang we cannot just offer faith. We cannot just offer the Lord as an answer to the questions of people if we don't even bother to listen to their questions. Napaka-importante ngayon sa pananaw namin bilang mga leader ng simbahan ang unawain ano ang pinagmumulan, anong totoong pinagdadaanan ng ating bayan, not from a detached perspective. Ang namin dito, synodal approach. Kasi yung synodal approach na pinalaganap ni Pope Francis, nagsisimula yan doon sa paglabas natin sa ating comfort zone. No? At aminin ko, may comfort zones din kami sa simbahan, yung aming mga institusyon. No? Kung minsan, before you know it, parang detached na kami or hindi namin talaga alam o ramdam yung pinagdadaanan, lalong-lalo na ng mga most disadvantaged sector sa ating lipunan. Katulad ngayon, itong global economic crisis na to, ganon, madali siyang pag-usapan pero yung pakinggan mo talaga yung tinig ng mga driver, mga housewife, mga OFW, lahat ng apektado, mga kapamilya ng mga migrante, yung kamusta na sila? Kaya pa ba nilang pagkasyahin yung kakarampot na kinikita nila? Lalo na in the midst of this crisis, parang wala man lang safety net sa ating gobyerno, no? Parang paulit-ulit na lang yung kultura ng ayuda, bigyan mo ng konting ayuda, ganun, no? Hanggang doon na lang ba tayo? I think we can do better. We can do better than that. No? Siguro kailangan ding mag-examination of conscience sa panahon natin ngayon, sa panahon ng crisis, yung mga biggest income earners na mga korporasyon, hindi kaya pwedeng maglaan sila kahit 10% lang ng kita nila nitong mga panahon ng krisis para may buffer fund tayo na aasahan. Kasi alam naman natin kung gaano kalaki yung kinurakot ng mga walang konsensyang mga politiko dahil sa flood control, no? Which is another big issue. Siguro kung hindi nakurakot yung pera natin, kahit pa paano mayroon tayong maaasahan at mahuhugot na pondo sa gitna ng ganitong klaseng krisis. No? Kaya ang moral crisis talaga yung kinakaharap natin.
This, Cardinal, I just wanted to take a step back, no? This moral crisis that you're talking about, what is your guess? When did it start? When did we start losing our way? How did it start? At saka, in relation to what Ami was asking, what can the people do? So, for example, you mentioned the flood control scandal. There was the trillion peso march, which you were a key voice on.
Very active voice.
Except
Right, sort of tapered
it,
off.
it tapered off, and it wasn't as big as was originally expected. And a lot of people were saying may protest fatigue kasi pagod na tayo sa kakaprotesta. So the second part of my question is, what else can people do?
Yeah. Well, actually, I do not underestimate yung mga protest rallies na naganap. Kasi iba naman ang konteksto natin doon sa 1986 na nag-people power. Dictatorship talaga yung kinakaharap natin noon. We are actually working in the context of democracy. Na imperfect yung democracy, but at least there is democracy. There is still, to a certain extent, respect for the rule of law. Yun nga lang, maraming pumapalpak sa ating mga democratic institutions. And I think yun ang punto kung bakit umaalsa ulit yung mga tao at nagpi-people power ulit. Pero ako sa tingin ko, higit pa sa mga rally-rally, ang mahalagang ekspresyon ngayon ay yung proactive approach ng maraming mga sektor at mga grupo na mag-participate sa kunyari no sa ground validation of government infrastructure projects. Alam niyo ba na nangyayari ngayon 'yan? Napaka-excited ng mga social action centers sa iba't ibang diocese sa buong kapuluan na mag-participate ngayon doon sa what we call citizens participatory audit. Kasi paano tayo mag-expect ng good governance kung hindi gagawin ng mga mamamayan yung kanilang partisipasyon through responsible citizenship? I think walang patutunguhan ng demokrasya natin kung iiwan lang natin sa mga politiko, no? Democracy means the rule of the people, not the rule of a few politicians, di ba? Kaya yung empowerment of the people to really participate, parang mahalagang susi siya. Yun lang, papaano yun gagawin? Maraming pwedeng maging expressions nito, no?
Pero po, also the problem, I suppose, is different groups claim to represent the voice of the people in calling for or in calling against corruption, and sometimes nagiging politically identified ang certain, like for example, you have the Duterte group also calling against corruption, even though they're also being subject to investigations, and as well the Marcos group. How do you? I mean, well, let me put it this way.
How do you navigate?
How do you navigate between those landmines? You might call them that landmines, where certain groups
You don't side with
identify
anyone.
themselves
No.
as the bastion of honesty and integrity.
Good governance.
Pero dagdag Cardinal, how do you create an alternative sa puwersa ng kadiliman at puwersa ng kasamaan na sinabi ni Harry Roque? No?
Talagang kailangan mo yan.
Alam mo, Ronald, kung ang pagpipilian ay between kadiliman and kasamaan, parang ewan ko, ibig sabihin wala na tayong pag-asa, no? But I will not surrender to hopelessness and cynicism, no? It is never a choice between two evils, no? I think that's why ngayon Holy Week importante na as Christians we're given the choice of the way of the cross. And the way of the cross for us is really the choice for truth, for integrity, for justice, for sacrifice. It's the way of love. Parang si St. Paul ang sabi niya, you cannot even talk of faith and hope if it is not founded on love. At yung love, yun yung including love for country, na ang tunay na dapat mag-motivate sa atin ay malasakit talaga para sa ating bayan. Ngayon, tinatanong mo maraming mga political voices. Totoo naman, yung we are awash with propaganda, lalong-lalo na sa social media. There is a lot of demagoguery. And kaya napakahalaga ng discernment na we need moral clarity, no? Na importante na our understanding of the situation is based on moral certitude, no? Kasi parang yun ang nawawala na sa atin. Kapag kunyari, gina-justify na natin ang impunity, no? Or the end justifies the means. Parang pwede nang mag-shortcut, hindi na igalang yung batas, yung the promise of strong man, yung mga ganyan. Laging nakakatukso yung ganyang mga options. I think ako nga, ang suspecha ko, yun ang agenda ni Judas Iscariot kung bakit binenta niya ang Panginoon. There are biblical scholars who believe that there is a possibility that right within the group of 12 disciples of Jesus, there may have been a kind of a conflict of understanding kung ano ang mission ni Jesus. Kasi there were among them some members of an underground zealot movement, na medyo kaalyado ni Jesus Barabbas. And yesterday, I think 2 days ago, ang homily ko was about the choice between two Jesuses. People know only Jesus of Nazareth, but Jesus was a very common name during the first century. At yung Barabbas na iniharap ni Poncio Pilato, according to the Gospel of Matthew, ang first name niya Jesus din. So nung iharap itong dalawa, Barabbas was not really just a bandit. He wasn't just really a criminal. Barabbas was a revolutionary.
Yeah.
Somebody who believed that there was no other option than violence in order to dismantle the violent Roman regime, no? But Jesus went against that, and alam nyo na in the Gospel of Matthew a few days ago I was reflecting kasi noong arestuhin si Jesus sa Garden of Gethsemane, alam nyo, according to Saint Matthew, naglabas ng sandata ang sa mga alagad. That means there were some of them who were with the armed groups
At naputol
and
yung tenga.
who were ready to fight violently, and Jesus took his stand and he said, put that sword down. Ang sabi niya, ang humawak ng espada, sa espada rin mamamatay. And I think that's a good reminder to world leaders nowadays, no, who really believe that might is right, and who believe in the power of violence, to control things or to have the upper hand, no.
Hindi pa sila
Paulit-ulit
unitin.
lang talaga ang kasaysayan, and people somehow never learn, no, that violence is never the solution.
We never learned. Cardinal, your point about democracy belonging to the people, I always say that here, pero pinagtatawanan nila ako.
Huh?
I always say the power of Congress is with the people, but they don't believe me. So ito na yung cynical side of things. No, just
Siguro,
But-
in relation to sa sabi ni Reg, Cardinal, at nabanggit nyo rin kanina, most of our institutions are unraveling, weakening. Congress, Senate, Executive, Supreme Court, no, COMELEC. So,
Maybe-
with all this weakening ng ating institutions, yung institution ng simbahan, ang tinatakbuhan ng maraming tao na hindi pa ganun kasira. Diba, Cardinal? Pero at the same time, malinaw naman, yung church is not at the government. Meron pa rin line between politics and faith. Pero in spite of that line, with all this weakening ng ating institutions and all the dangers na sinasabi nyo nga, pinopost ng crisis, ano yung magiging role ng mga Kristiyano at ng simbahan dito? Ano ba yung posibleng alternative sa puwersa ng kasamaan at kadiliman, no? Going into the 2028 defining election?
Yes, alam mo, Ronald, yung ako ang lagi kong binabanggit na ang papel namin talaga ay facilitator of conversation, no? Mag-usap-usap tayo. Katulad nitong ginagawa ninyo, napakahalaga nito, no? Ako sa tingin ko, yun ang malaking kontribusyon ng media, no? At real media, hindi mga trolls, no? Yung mga tao who can discuss things intelligently kasi matatalino naman tayo, eh. We have to go by the ito yung ang pinaghuhugutan ko nito ay a certain spiritual and moral certitude, no. I don't know, you might consider me naive in saying this, pero bilang Kristiyano, ang paniniwala ko ay walang likas na masamang tao dito sa mundo. Okay? I always distinguish between masamang gawa at yung masamang tao. Walang masamang tao. Lahat ng tao ay likas na mabuti, pero kayang gumawa ng masama. At pag nakakagawa ng masama at lumilihis yung tao, magandang itanong, saan siya nanggagaling? Ba't siya nagkakaganyan? Anong problema niya? Di ba? That's a very mature way of dealing with problematic situations. At sa tingin ko, yun ang papel namin. And kasi hindi naman kami politiko eh. At wala kaming intensyon na mamuno sa bayan na to na as political leaders, no? Our role will always be as spiritual and moral leaders, no? At sa tingin namin, mahalaga yun, mahalaga yung spirituality, no? Because doon tayo humuhugot ng liwanag, a certain moral certitude about ano ba yung nangyayari sa atin. You know, in religious language, we call it discernment, no? Pagkilatis. Di ba, yung word kilatis, ginagamit yan as parang metaphor sa yung kailangan hindi ka magpabudol. Imagine kung may magbenta sa iyo ng diamante, tapos binili mo ng mahal, yung palapwit lang ng baso. Ibig sabihin, tanga ka. Bakit ka nagpabudol? Kasi binili mo siya nang hindi mo man lang pinakilatis kung totoo o hindi totoo. Ganyan din sa mga pangyayari sa buhay natin at sa buhay panlipunan, no? It is necessary to develop a certain amount of what we call spiritual intelligence. Si Howard Gardner spoke about many forms of intelligence, di ba? At kaya tayo nag-aaral dahil kailangan nating itaas ang ating intelligence at maraming forms, no? Emotional intelligence is one form, artistic intelligence, pero people forget na spirituality is also intelligence.
Cardinal, by way of developing spiritual intelligence, napag-usapan din ba ng mga obispo yung importance of education in developing moral certainty? Kasi nung bata ako, marami mga catechism school eh.
Yeah.
Kahit yung para sa mga hindi nag-aaral sa Catholic school, nakaka-attend sila nun. Kumusta ba yung ganyang mga programs ngayon within the
Yes.
Catholic Church?
Yeah, well, ang catechism is what we call faith formation. At yes, totoo, no, nung mga kabataan natin ay meron tayong mga very dedicated old catechists.
Sunday school.
Talagang may Sunday school, ganyan, no. Ngayon, siguro mula nung mauso yung mga Catholic schools, parang naging kampante ang simbahan na pwede nang ipagkatiwala ito sa mga school catechists o sa mga religious education teachers. But more and more, we're realizing na ang pinakaunang catechist dapat parents. Dapat yung family. Na doon ang pinakamalakas na spiritual influence from the family. And kaya hindi natin i-replace yung faith formation sa pamamagitan lang ng mga katekista. Now we're focusing more on yung formation ng mga parents who will be formators for their children.
Pero Cardinal, at this point in time, you have a lot of parents who don't seem to have not even enough time for themselves. I mean, baka dati pa nga mas maraming panahon yung mga magulang natin eh. Pero ngayon parang everybody's so
Everybody's working.
so in a rush, distracted as well.
Or lacking the spiritual intelligence themselves.
So that
true.
will pose a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, precisely. Kaya magandang mag-examination of conscience. Bakit natin hinayaan na maging ganito ang takbo ng ating lipunan? Na parang kayod marino ang lahat ng mga tao to the point na wala ng quality yung buhay nila. Ano bang quality ng buhay kung kayod lang tayo ng kayod, hindi ba? Kahit naman sinong tao kailangan magpahinga, na may time siya para mag-reflect, mag-meditate, yung ganun. Dapat hindi yun luxury. Dapat it's an essential aspect of our life. Kapag itong mga essential aspects ng introspection, yung reflection, meditation, ay talagang nawala na sa buhay natin. Abay, talagang ang ating lipunan magiging parang mga manok na walang ulo, parang walang direksyon. And I think the need to have a sense of meaning, purpose, mission, and direction is something that is shared by all people around the world. That's why every now and then, like especially during moments like this, no, ng Holy Week, magandang mag-examination of conscience. Ano na ang takbo ng ating lipunan? Tayo ba ay may panahon pa talaga o mga magulang? Kasi anong direksyon ng mga bata kung walang panahon ng magulang para
Yeah.
sa kanilang mga anak? Diba?
On concrete aspects, Cardinal, no?
Yeah.
Ano yung ugnayan ng moral leadership tsaka moral certitude sa mga konkretong issue na kinakaharap natin ngayon? Halimbawa, yung usapin ng dynasties na
Yeah.
dominate sa ating political system as never before.
Yeah.
Yung usapin nitong corruption na parang wala namang big fish na nahuhuli, no? Kung meron man mga dilis, no? Itong usapin ng impunity na hanggang ngayon parang wala tayong truth commission na kino-confront itong napakalaking sugat sa ating
Yeah.
national psyche, no?
Yeah.
Itong usapin ng mga traidor sa ating political system, mga chinadors, no? Anong tingin diyan ng simbahan na kahit spirituality, spiritual intelligence yung kanilang focus, tsaka moral
Yeah.
leadership, ay siguro naghahanap din yung mga karaniwang tao. Paano yung tawid?
I think kung may spiritual intelligence, meron ding spiritual dumbness, no, Ronald. Kapag yun nga, masyado na tayong resilient in the negative sense, no? Parang ang bilis nating tumanggap. Siguro dahil tayo ay disaster capital of the world at yun, pinagmamalaki natin, mabilis tayong mag-adjust sa mga disaster situation, ganyan. On the one hand, it sounds like a value. On the other hand, it is also a disvalue. Parang ang bilis din nating tumanggap na ganyan na lang, pare-pareho lang naman yan, wala na tayong magagawa. And I think that is already spiritual dumbness, no? Walang spiritual intelligence kapag yung tao ganyan na yung kanyang pananaw. Parang akala mo hopeless ka na, wala ka nang magagawa. That is the negative idea of resiliency.
Yeah.
Lalo na kung pagkatapos pumutok nitong scandal ng the biggest parang the corruption of the greatest magnitude ever na nangyari sa ating bansa, tapos back to business as usual na naman tayo. Kung back to business as usual tayo, we deserve our misery. Then we deserve the kind of dysfunctional country that we have.
Yeah.
But no, we deserve more than this, di ba? Tapos ang gagaling ng Pilipino. Sa iba't ibang mga bansa, pinakikinabangan tayo, ganon. Bakit hindi natin
Yep.
yung pakinabangan ang ating galing at talino para sa pagbubuo ng isang mas maayos at mas functional na lipunan?
Yeah. But specifically, Cardinal, may I ask your opinion on the political dynasty bill, the one that's working its way through Congress right now? It bans relatives up to the second degree of consanguinity, pero it allows yung sabay-sabay that they run for office and hold office at the same time, as long as different localities. In the words of the congressmen and women we've spoken to, ito na daw kasi yung pinaka best compromise, because acceptable compromise, because the version that we want is different from what they have in their mind. So ito na yung best middle ground that they can come up with. What did you think of that?
Ang sasabihin ko, I'm sorry, but your best is not good enough. And whether we like it or not, parang ang hirap, ang gumagawa ng ating mga batas, sila mismo, most of them are members of political dynasties, no? At ewan ko ba kailan tayo gigising na ito yung isa sa mga pinakamalaking kalbaryo ng bansa natin. Kasi ito ang dahilan kung bakit nauwi ang ating politika sa politics of patronage. Yun nga, dahil nasanay na tayo sa mga political dynasties, ganon, no? But we can do better than that. And I think there are some good people in Congress who have better ideas. Sana yung sa debate, may pakita natin, this is not good enough. This is not good enough. Let's come up with something more radical than that, no? Parang let's not give up to 4th degree consanguinity, no? So yeah, I think much of that will rely on the reaction ng mga taong bayan. Ewan ko lang kung kung ayon sa survey, malaking prioridad para sa mga tao na ma-address ang political dynasties, no? Kasi yun nga nasa perceptions yan. Yes.
The latest Post-Asia survey on it says about 54%. So majority, pero not that big of majority. And may mga theories din na people are tired of this issue because it's been 40 years in the making, 40. But, you know...
No, I don't think people are tired of the issue. It's just that they have other priorities as well, no? Kapag masyadong marami tayong concerns na nagsabay-sabay, minsan akala natin may ibang mga bagay na hindi na importante. Importante, I think, the 54% that you're talking about, mataas yan, no? Yun nga lang, kapag on survival mode ang ating mga taong bayan, whether you like it or not, ang top concern nila ay mataas ang bilihin, yung inflation, yung gano'n, no? Kahit nga, I think the concern of people na mapagkasya nila yung kinikita nila is still way above the concern about corruption, for example, even if the two are very closely related to each other. It's a matter of talagang the priorities of people given their circumstances.
Parang nobody will say they love corruption or that they love dynasties, but in the end, when they vote,
Parang na-disassociate.
Oo.
But you know,
Hindi nila nakokonek eh.
so may isang Ateneo study that found 80% of Congress belong to political dynasties. But you know, Cardinal, a lot of them are also Catholics, staunch Catholics. They go to
Yes.
church. Diba? So, bakit may
Disconnect.
May dissonance,
cognitive dissonance dito?
Yeah. Dahil hindi naman yan usapin ng pananampalataya I think usapin yan talaga ng pera kasi pinakamalaking
Politika.
negosyo ang politika. Kaya yung tama yung sinasabi ninyo, yung cognitive dissonance between parang lalo na kung ang edukasyon mo pa sa mga Catholic schools, mga big time Catholic schools, tapos yung parang walang proper values, no, na parang hindi na inform yung conscience about what's right and what's wrong, no. And yun ang aming malaking pagkukulang. I will not just point an accusing finger on anybody. I'd say talagang dyan ang malaking pagkukulang, that kind of conscience formation, no?
On a different
Yeah.
On a different note, Cardinal, a few
Yes.
days back, sabi nyo, ay pinuri nyo yung pagtatayo ng simbahan sa Pag-asa Island. The westernmost part of our West Philippine Sea. No, it appears not just a political statement but a spiritual manifestation, no, sa isang napakahalagang issue na ito. Pero at the same time, sabi ng ating presidente ay pwede natin buksan yung usapin ng joint exploration with China, who particularly at this point is an aggressor, even an invader sa ating EEZ. So, meron bang malinaw na posisyon yung simbahan dyan sa usapin ng soberenya at West Philippine Sea?
Yeah. Alam mo, Ronald, I would have gone there sa Pag-asa myself kung hindi lang nag-conflict sa schedule ko, no? noon ko pa pangarap na makapunta doon sa isla na yon eh. Ganon. In fact, yun ang dahilan kung bakit ako nag-post sa social media tungkol dito sa blessing na ito, no. Shinare ko lang naman yung shinare ni Commodore J. Tariela, no. Sinabi ko kasi sa kanya na mas preferable na yung local bishop ang maimbitahan para mag-bless doon sa itatayo na simbahan na yon, no. And by the way, nananawagan ako, mag-ambag-ambag naman po tayo, kahit barya-barya lang. I think if we put that together, it's going to be a very powerful symbol ng assertion natin ng ating sovereignty, ng ating dangal bilang isang bayan, no. Natawa nga ako nung marinig ko itong offer of partnership, joint exploration daw ng oil or petroleum sa West Philippine Sea, no. Nakakatawa at the outset, it's like a very amicable offer, but on the other hand, siguro sasabihin ko, o sige, mag-joint exploration tayo, pero aminin niyo muna na hindi ito inyo. That's the most important thing, you know. How can we be partners if you tell us na wala kaming karapatan? The law is on our side, di ba? Malinaw naman sa UNCLOS, sa international law, na atin yun, no? So, yun nga, parang good fences make good neighbors, ika nga, di ba? So, ayun, hindi naman sa parang, sino ba naman tayo para makigera? And I don't think that the church will ever encourage that kind of an approach na parang makipag-away or makigera, ganon. We are on the side of peace, but manindigan naman tayo doon sa tama, no? Let's have some self-respect, ika nga, no?
Cardinal, pahabol ko lang. Yung diocese nyo covers Caloocan eh. It
Opo.
had one of the highest cases of EJ case nung panahon ng war on drugs.
Yeah.
Kumusta na po yung sitwasyon ngayon doon sa Caloocan?
Yung mga pamilya.
Well, dito, nothing comparable to what happened many years ago during the time nung kasagsagan ng giyera kontra droga. Kasi the mere fact na bigla siyang huminto, that means talagang was state-sponsored, no? That became very, very clear to us it became very clear from the start. Kaya, ang ginawa namin as a local church, as a diocese, was to form support groups for the widows and the orphans of the survivors. We don't call them victims, we would rather call them survivors, no? Survivors of the extrajudicial killings, no? And you know, many of them mga scholars namin, mga kabataan, at marami sa kanila nakagraduate na sila. And it's so fulfilling to see na yung hindi doon nagsara yung buhay nila, no, na nagpatuloy, may pag-asa pa. So ayun, I'm always positive about something good that can come from something that was really so traumatic for many people, no?
When you say stop, Cardinal, you saying there are no more, you don't hear of any more killings in your area?
Well, not as often as we used to, no? Kasi noon halos araw-araw. Kakaiba talaga yung panahon na yun, yung tinawag na giyera kontra droga, kasi halos walang araw na walang pinupulot na mga bangkay sa kalsada, no? Yun.
But
Yung nightmare na yun, at least wala na ngayon.
pero yung isa sa mga narratives noon is that the streets were safer.
Wala ba kayo naririnig na gano'n na nagsasabi ngayon na they feel threatened again by troublemakers? Kasi yan, naririnig namin yan nung war on drugs.
Ewan ko ba what they mean by the streets feel safer, no? Alam ninyo, may mga mission stations kami sa mga biggest slum communities sa Caloocan, Malabon at Navotas. At ang mga umiikot doon, mga madre. Some of them are even Mexicans or mga, mga madre na magaganda, mga madre na, they go inside sa mga eskinita. Hindi sila natatakot. Kasi, ewan ko kung bakit merong, there was a time na masyadong in-exaggerate yung pagiging unsafe ng mga communities. Yung pag-exaggerate na yun is part of the propaganda to make people believe na ito ang punot dulo at pinakamalaking problema sa ating bansa, yung ganon, no? And hindi man siya research-based so, itong mga madre namin na mission chaplains, umiikot yan and hindi naman sila binabastos, Kung minsan, ano pa nga, yung mga madre, nakakatuwa, malalaking mga baton, sasalubong doon sa mga madre, magmamano sila, mano po sister, good evening po sister, ganun. Magalang yung mga Pilipino. I don't know what you would call unsafe. Pag pumapasok ako sa mga slum communities, totoo, nakakakita ako ng mga mukhang maton na walang damit pang itaas at nagiinuman ng beer. Pero alam ninyo, kung kilala ninyo ang mga nabubuhay sa mga slums, napakaiinit dahil ng mga bahay nila. Kaya maintindihan mo ba't mag-aalis sila ng t-shirt? Hindi dahil sisiga-siga sila, kundi dahil miserable ang buhay nila. Ang buhay nila. Tapos yung isang bote ng beer, malaking consolation na yan dyan sa mga hardworking people. So it is wrong to typecast the people, the slum communities as breeding places for criminality. It is wrong. That is a caricature. Para bang nung panahon ng gyera kontra droga, kinailangan muna nilang i-create yung caricature na yan para ma-justify nila yung kanilang violent solutions sa isang problema. Na hindi ko dinideny na meron naman talagang serious problem about drugs. And the most common victims of drugs are the poor. Because nga, they live miserable lives. Kailangan nila ng kaunting escape, parang gano'n, no? Na ginagamit nila na parang gamot ang droga, pampalimot at para manatili silang gising. Kuminsan, like truck driver sila, layo ng bibiyahin, parang gano'n, aantukin sila at para magising, yung kailangan nilang tumira ng shabu, yung gano'n, no? They're not bad people, no? Yung caricature na yon, I think there's something really wrong about it. Itong mga witnesses ko, itong mga madre mismo, they will tell me, we've seen more good than evil or criminality in the communities where we serve, ang sabi nila sa akin.
In relation dyan, Cardinal, no? On a personal note, tinawag kayo kasi ni ex-President Digong na drug peddler dahil nga pumapasok kayo sa mga eskinita, sa mga squatter, no? Tinreten din nila kayo ng kamatayan, no? Ipapatay ka daw. At tinawag ka rin niya magnanakaw ng prutas sa altar, etc., etc. On a personal note, nakaramdam ka ba ng panganib, ng takot, ng threat? Nakaramdam ka ba ng galit sa lahat ng itong threats na ito? Dahil hindi alam ng mga tao yung personal mo emosyon.
Pinagdaanan.
No, parang you're so you're so calm, so brave, no, etc. Siguro, interesado rin yung mga tao as
What it was like
a
for you.
bishop. What was it like?
Siguro, Ronald, kung takot o pangamba ang pag-uusapan, siyempre, tao lang naman ako. Nakaramdam din ako ng takot. No? Lalo na nung tumatanggap na ako nung mga babala, mga death threats, o magsasabing hanggang ganito na lang yung buhay mo, mga ganyan. Siyempre, matatakot ka din, ganon. Pero kasi noon naisip ko, kung ako nga na napaka-secure na ng buhay, matatakot pa. Paano na lang itong mga poor people, no? Parang sila mismo, yung mga pamamahay nila, isang sipa mo lang, nasa loob ka na ng bahay, yung ganon. So, kung ako na nasa secure situation, matatakot pa, sila. Tapos bakit pa ako nagpare? Ba't pa ako nag-obispo kung ang iisipin ko lang sarili kong security? Ganon, no? Parang I find that scandalous, no? Pero kung may isang bagay na hindi ko naramdaman, galit. Hindi ako magagaliting tao. Kahit doon sa mga nakakasakit sa akin, lagi ang iniisip ko, hindi siya masamang tao. Saan kaya siya nagmumula? Ba't siya nagkaganyan? Ba't ganoon, nagkaganoon ang paningin nila sa buhay? What went wrong somewhere? Saan kami nagkulang doon sa conscience formation? So, yung mga time na yon were very, very challenging for me, pero hindi ako nakaadama kailanman ng galit. Hindi galit, no? Sometimes nakaramdam ako ng takot, pero madaling mawala yung takot na yon when you see the support of people, no? Lalo na yung sitwasyon, I had to go out of my way to console widows and orphans. So I cannot just waste my time worrying about my security.
But did you ever feel po that you were under surveillance or you were being tailed or anything like that?
Ano, ni-raid yung parokya nyo, di ba, Cardinal? Ni-raid nung Secretary of Political Affairs, si Jing Paras, kasama yung mga NBI.
Nangyari yun, Ronald, noong time na pinipressure ako na isurrender yung mga witnesses dun sa pagpatay kay Kian de los Santos. Kasi noong mga time na yon, the church served as a sanctuary. Tapos you remember, publicly binalaan pa nga ako ng Secretary of Justice noon. Ang sabi niya, we will sue you for obstruction of justice. Wala kayong karapatan na magbigay ng witness protection kasi kami lang ang dapat magbigay niyan. Yung gano'n. No? That's why I had to run to the Commission on Human Rights nung mga panahon na yon. And luckily, yung Integrated Board of the Philippines sumang-ayon sa akin na may prerogative yung tao na humingi ng sanctuary sa alinmang institution na sa palagay niya magiging secure siya. Ako nga, sabi ko, how do you call this obstruction to justice? I am facilitating justice because precisely kapag kailangang humarap yan sa korte, ilalabas ko naman sila. Parang ganon, no? So, but during those times, they really did everything to intimidate me. And alam ko
Ngayong
naman...
mga panahon, Cardinal, may naririnig ba kayo sa mga parishioner nyo na nagsasabi, kasi ginagamit tong narrative ng kabila may mga naririnig ba kayo reklamo na natatakot kami, bumabalik ang criminality, bumabalik ang drugs? Naririnig niyo ba yon ngayon?
Hindi. Hindi ko yun naririnig. Ang, ang common problems ng mga tao are economic
Economic.
Oo, economic talaga. Yung saan kami, paano namin mapagkasya, yung kinikita namin, gano'n. Andun pa rin, definitely nandun pa rin ang problema ng droga, no? Pero yung parang yung caricature na ito, yung bang it will promote criminality at ang tao nasa peligro, ang mga buhay nila, hindi ko yun nakikita.
Okay.
Our slum communities are very human communities. They support each other. Mararamdaman mo din yung malasakit ng mga dukha sa isa't isa. Sila yung unang magmamalasakit sa isa't isa. And yun yung papel namin to build community kasi ang pinakaunang parang source of security ng dukha ay community. Kapag wala na siyang matakbuhan na community, that is really a very extreme form of poverty.
Okay.
On a last note, Cardinal, sa US, they're starting to see more people turn to the Catholic Church, join the Catholic Church. Ang theory is because Pope Leo is, of course, an American. Are you seeing the same kind of, expansion, increasing numbers of Catholic Church here?
Well, I hope ganun nga yung dahilan, no. Of course, I'm very happy when people return to church, no. Alam ko kasi na napaka-divided ng church right there in the United States, no? Because napaka-polarizing ng politics in America. And I am in close contact with fellow bishops at there are many Filipino priests also working in the United States at hindi madali para sa kanila. Kung minsan, yun nga, parang yung pagbabalik sa simbahan, pagsisimba, yung ganon, for me that is not enough to make me confident na totoong nagkakaroon ng resurgence ng spirituality, no? It can be a good sign, you know, but hindi yun yung it's not everything. I still have to see to what extent nagkakaroon ng impact yung, let's say, the Catholic faith in the way you know, in the societal life doon sa Amerika, no?
Yeah. Is there
Yes.
Panghuling tanong, Cardinal, no, in relation sa Easter, no, itong Semana
Ay, sorry,
Santa.
close ko lang
Yeah.
yung topic na yun. Is there a plan to invite Pope Leo here again? Because I know he was here before he became a pope.
Well, ang alam kasi namin si Pope Leo ay pupunta ng Korea. And that's going to be, I think, in 2028, no? Ngayon, syempre, it would be nice kung nasa Asia na siya, if he could swing by the Philippines, ganon. And we sent a letter, sort of communicated na he would be most welcome sa Pilipinas kung dadalaw siya. And I think he is interested in visiting the Philippines, pero kung kailan ay hindi pa sigurado, no? Kasi hindi rin yung atmosphere hindi masyadong conducive kung darating siya dito panahon ng election.
Election.
Mapupolitis kayo siya.
Baka
Magiging politika yan, no?
Ganon.
Maybe-
Alam mo naman, yung mga bagay na yan, kinukonsider din para sa pagdalaw.
Still two years
lang
away.
yung ibig sabihin na eh.
Cardinal,
Suffice it to say na napaka-interested ni Pope Leo sa Pilipinas.
Yes.
In fact, nasabi niya sa akin nung yung unang batiin ko siya after the conclave, sabi ko, come and visit us in the Philippines. Ang tapos sabi niya, I am familiar with the Philippines. Sabi niya, mga 9 times na siya
Yeah.
na nagpunta
Bumiyahe.
sa Pilipinas. That during the time that he was Superior General of the Augustinian Order, parang tinrato niya ang Pilipinas as parang home base niya whenever he made an Asian visit. Kaya malapit ang puso ni Pope Leo sa mga Pilipino.
Okay. Okay, last question to the sinner ulit.
ngayong Semana Santa, kahapon tsaka kanina, Cardinal, kasi ang dami nag-iimbita sa akin sa mga party sa Easter Sunday, no? Marami nag-iimbita na parang party ito, parang Pasko ng pagkabuhay. Pero parang marami sa atin nakalimutan na hindi ka aabot sa Easter, sa Pasko ng pagkabuhay, nang hindi ka dadaan sa Biyernes Santo. Parang medyo may konting disconnect din yung mga Kristiyano na the way to the cross, the way to redemption is
The way to heaven is through the cross.
through the cross, no? Yun yung siguro anong mensahe mo, Cardinal, sa gitna ng napakaraming krisis, no? Yung ugnayan ng Pasko ng Pagkabuhay at Biyernes Santo.
Yeah. Alam mo, actually, baliktad ang tingin ko, Ronald. Parang sa tingin ko nga, mas matindi yung way of the cross sa mga Pilipino kaysa sa resurrection. We're not yet an Easter people. I think we are a Good Friday people. Kaya mas malakas yung dagsa ng mga tao sa simbahan sa mga mahal na araw, pero kakaunti na lang sila pagdating ng Easter. Parang siguro mas maraming Pilipino hindi pa nila ramdam yung tagumpay at kaluwalhatian na sinisimbolize ng Paskong Pagkabuhay. Ganon, no? Dahil nga, tingnan mo, kahit sa images, the most popular images ng Panginoong Hesukristo ay Nazareno, di ba? Parang Panginoong nagdurusa. Because I think mas real sa maraming Pilipino ang pagdurusa. Ang sakit, ang hirap ng buhay. Ako, what I wish is to really be able to proclaim Easter properly to our people. And how do we do that? By giving hope. Kasi yun ang meaning ng Easter eh. May pag-asa. Evil will not have the last say. Ang Panginoon lang ang may karapatang magsabing, akin ang huling halakhak. Hindi niya hahayaan si Satanas to have the last say. That is what Easter is about. It's the triumph of life. It's the triumph of goodness.
That is the perfect point to end this conversation.
Don't
This
let Ron
Holy
have
Week,
the last say.
Jesus is the answer. Say, evil will not stay. Your Eminence, Cardinal Ambo David, we very much appreciate your time and are honored that you joined us for such a long interview today. Thank you so much. We hope to have you back on the show another time. That was Caloocan Bishop, His Eminence Pablo Virgilio Cardinal David. Salamat, sir.
Salamat po,
Maraming
Cardinal.
salamat,
Thank you,
Cardinal.
Cardinal.
Mine too. Bye-bye. Happy Easter in advance to all of you.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter po.